Shalom, friends. There comes a moment in every life when the smallest decision proves to be the greatest turning point. Most people never recognize it. They expect destiny to arrive with thunder. They wait for the sky to split open, for the earth to shake beneath their feet, for every answer to appear in perfect order. But life has never worked that way. The greatest changes often begin with a quiet step taken in faith when there is no certainty at all. Perhaps that was your last move. Perhaps the decision you almost dismissed has already begun rearranging doors you cannot yet see. You may believe nothing has changed. The room looks the same. The people around you speak the same words. The routine has not disappeared. Yet beneath the surface, unseen currents are already shifting. Imagine a traveler walking through a dense forest before sunrise. The darkness convinces him that he has made no progress. Every tree appears identical. Every path seems uncertain. But when daylight finally arrives, he discovers he has crossed the hardest part of the journey while believing he had gone nowhere. Life often hides its greatest victories until the proper light arrives. The last step you took was not merely another action, it was a declaration, not necessarily spoken aloud, but written into the deepest places of your character. You chose courage over comfort, truth over convenience, patience over panic, integrity over applause. Those choices rarely earn immediate rewards. In fact, they often seem to invite greater difficulty, yet there is an ancient principle woven into reality itself. The invisible world frequently responds before the visible one does. The seed does not ask permission from the soil before it begins to grow. It simply obeys the design placed within it. Likewise, every sincere act of faithfulness begins producing consequences long before human eyes can measure them. This is why so many people abandon their purpose. They mistake silence for absence. They confuse waiting with failure. But silence is not always emptiness. Sometimes silence is preparation. Consider the sculptor standing before an enormous block of stone. To the casual observer, every strike of the hammer appears destructive. Pieces fall away, dust fills the air, nothing beautiful seems to emerge. Only after countless unseen decisions does the masterpiece finally reveal itself. The stone was never being ruined, it was being uncovered. Perhaps that is exactly what is happening within you. The parts of your life that feel like loss may actually be unnecessary weight falling away. Your recent disappointment may have protected you from a future disaster. The relationship that ended, the opportunity that vanished, the plan that collapsed. What if these were not punishments? What if they were mercies wearing unfamiliar clothing? We often ask why certain doors remain closed. Rarely do we ask what dangers waited behind them. Wisdom usually arrives after the journey, not before it. That is why trust becomes more valuable than certainty. The remarkable thing about transformation is that it almost never announces itself. A tree does not grow with audible explosions. Morning does not rush the sunrise. The heart itself performs its greatest work in quietness. Why should the deepest changes in your life be any different? Your last move has already begun shaping conversations you have not yet had. It has influenced opportunities still hidden from view. It has altered the direction of people whose paths will eventually cross yours. One honest decision possesses a reach far beyond what you can calculate. Nothing rooted in truth remains without consequence. Every act of compassion echoes. Every sacrifice leaves a mark. Every refusal to surrender becomes a message written into eternity. Soon something will interrupt the ordinary rhythm of your days. It may arrive through an unexpected conversation, a surprising invitation, a chance encounter, a letter, a phone call, a realization that appears suddenly after months of confusion. When it comes, many will call it coincidence, but you will recognize something deeper. You will remember the difficult choice you almost regretted. You will remember the lonely season when no one applauded your perseverance. You will understand that what appeared insignificant was quietly preparing the path ahead. The greatest messages rarely arrive to flatter our pride. They come to enlarge our vision. They remind us that we are participants in a story far greater than our individual fears. The world encourages us to chase recognition, yet the soul grows strongest when it learns to pursue faithfulness instead. Recognition fades, character remains, titles disappear, integrity continues speaking long after voices grow silent. Do not measure your life solely by visible outcomes. Measure it by the quality of the choices you make when no audience is watching. The unseen decisions often become the visible miracles of tomorrow. There is remarkable freedom in realizing that not every chapter must make immediate sense. A reader trusts the author to finish the story. The characters within the pages cannot see the ending, neither can we. Still, every page matters, every struggle contributes, every delay carries purpose, even when its meaning remains hidden. So if you have wondered whether your recent decision mattered, if you have questioned whether your quiet obedience accomplished anything, if you have feared that your effort disappeared into emptiness, take heart. Not everything important announces itself immediately. Some answers travel slowly because they carry lasting weight. The message approaching your life is not arriving because fortune suddenly changed. It is coming because your character has been shaped to receive what once would have overwhelmed you. Preparation often looks ordinary until the day it proves essential. Do not grow weary while waiting. Continue choosing what is true. Continue acting with courage. Continue extending kindness where bitterness would be easier. Continue walking even when the road remains hidden. One day you will look back and realize the turning point was never the message itself. The turning point was the decision that made you ready to hear it. And perhaps that decision was the very last move you made. There are moments in life that seem so ordinary they barely deserve our attention. A single conversation, a quiet decision, a choice to walk away from something harmful, or the courage to begin again can appear insignificant when viewed through the eyes of the present. Yet history, both personal and universal, has a remarkable way of revealing that the greatest transformations often begin with what seem to be the smallest step. The course of a life is rarely altered by one dramatic event alone. More often, it is redirected by one decision that quietly changes everything that follows. Many people spend their lives waiting for certainty before they act. They believe that if a decision is truly important, every doubt will disappear and every path will become perfectly clear. But certainty is a rare companion. Most meaningful choices are made while questions remain unanswered. Courage is not the absence of uncertainty, it is the willingness to move forward despite it. The person who waits for every fear to vanish may remain standing in the same place long after the opportunity has passed. Think of a traveler standing before two roads. One is familiar, well-traveled, and comfortable. The other disappears into unfamiliar ground, offering no promises beyond the first few visible steps. Common sense often urges the traveler toward the safer path, yet growth has a curious habit of hiding where comfort cannot reach. The road that demands trust often leads to places the familiar road could never reveal. Your last move may have felt disappointingly small. Perhaps no applause followed it. No one congratulated you. The world continued exactly as it had the day before. The sky did not change its color. The people around you behaved the same. Yet unseen changes are not measured by outward noise. The deepest movements often happen beneath the surface, where roots grow long before branches appear. Consider how a single seed enters the ground. Once buried, it seems lost. It disappears beneath layers of soil where no eye can admire its progress. To anyone watching, nothing appears to happen. Days pass. Reina te go, godabriti stit unpromised us the look. Do you think Abraham had any choice where falls? The earth remains still. Yet hidden from view, the seed begins its quiet work. It breaks apart before it grows. What looks like destruction is actually the beginning of new life. Without that hidden transformation, no tree could ever stand beneath the open sky. Human lives often unfold according to the same mysterious pattern. Before visible success comes invisible preparation. Before new opportunities appear, old habits must often be left behind. Before lasting peace enters the heart, difficult choices must first be made in silence. The decision itself may seem small, but its consequences continue unfolding long after the moment has passed. There is a temptation to judge every choice by its immediate results. If nothing changes quickly, disappointment whispers that the effort was wasted. But truth does not always reveal itself on the same day it is chosen. Some decisions resemble planting rather than harvesting. They require patience because they are creating something that cannot be rushed. A single honest choice has the power to reshape character. Every time a person chooses integrity instead of convenience, courage instead of fear, or compassion instead of resentment, something within begins to change. Character is not built through one grand achievement, but through countless quiet decisions that slowly become part of who we are. Eventually, those decisions no longer feel like isolated actions. They become the foundation upon which every future choice is made. The remarkable thing is that one decision rarely affects only the person making it. Every meaningful choice sends quiet ripples beyond what can be measured. A word of encouragement offered at the right moment may restore hope to someone ready to give up. An act of forgiveness may end years of bitterness. The courage to leave behind dishonesty may inspire others to pursue truth. We often underestimate how deeply our decisions influence lives we may never fully know. Many people imagine that destiny arrives suddenly, as though life changes overnight. In reality, what appears to be an overnight transformation is often the visible result of months or years of faithful choices. The breakthrough that surprises everyone else usually began long before anyone noticed. Success, wisdom, and peace are seldom accidents. They are the harvest of decisions made when no audience was watching. If you have recently made a difficult choice, do not dismiss its importance simply because its results remain hidden. Some of the most valuable work in life happens beyond the reach of immediate recognition. The greatest chapters of your story may already be unfolding because of one decision that seemed almost too small to matter. Time has a way of revealing what the present cannot explain. One decision truly can change everything. Not because it instantly removes every obstacle, but because it quietly changes the direction of your life. And when direction changes, the destination eventually changes as well. Years from now, you may look back on what seemed like an ordinary moment and realize it was the beginning of a completely different future. The world may have overlooked that decision, but its lasting influence will prove that even the smallest step, taken with conviction, can shape an entire lifetime. There are seasons in life when silence feels heavier than failure itself. We wait for an answer, a sign, a breakthrough, or even the smallest indication that our efforts have not been wasted. Day after day passes without visible change, and the quiet begins to convince us that nothing is happening. It is easy to mistake the absence of noise for the absence of purpose. Yet some of the most important work in existence has always taken place where human eyes cannot see and human ears cannot hear. Silence has an unusual way of testing the heart. When encouragement disappears and certainty fades, our deepest beliefs are quietly examined. It is simple to remain hopeful when every door opens without resistance. It is far more difficult to continue walking when the path ahead offers no reassurance. Yet it is precisely in these quiet moments that perseverance begins to take root. A person who continues forward without constant confirmation develops a strength that cannot be borrowed from circumstances. Think about the changing of the seasons. Winter often appears lifeless. Trees stand bare against the sky, fields seem empty, and the landscape gives every impression that growth has come to an end. Yet beneath the frozen surface, life has not vanished. Roots continue their hidden work. Seeds remain protected beneath the soil, waiting for the proper moment to emerge. Nature understands something that people often forget. Not every season is meant for visible growth. Some seasons exist to prepare for what comes next. Life follows a similar rhythm. There are periods when everything seems to move quickly, and there are periods when almost nothing appears to cause change. Neither season is meaningless. Times of activity teach us responsibility, while seasons of waiting teach us patience. Without patience, success often arrives before character is ready to carry it. Preparation is rarely exciting, but it is always necessary. Many people abandon their journey during the silent season because they believe progress should always be obvious. They measure their lives only by what they can immediately see. If opportunities have not appeared, they assume they have been forgotten. If recognition has not arrived, they conclude that their efforts have no value. But reality is often working beneath the surface long before it becomes visible. Consider a sculptor standing before a massive block of stone. To someone passing by, the repeated strikes of the hammer may seem repetitive and unremarkable. Day after day, the stone changes so gradually that the observer notices almost nothing. Yet the sculptor understands that every careful strike removes what does not belong. Eventually, what once looked like an ordinary block becomes a masterpiece. The transformation was not sudden, it was simply too gradual for impatient eyes to appreciate. The same is often true within us. During seasons of silence, unnecessary fears are slowly removed. Pride begins to soften. Impatience loses its grip. Wisdom grows through experiences that cannot be rushed. These changes are rarely dramatic, but they are deeply significant. By the time the opportunity finally arrives, the person receiving it is no longer the same person who first began waiting. Silence also teaches us where we place our trust. If our confidence depends entirely on immediate results, every delay will feel unbearable. But if our confidence rests in the belief that meaningful work continues even when it cannot be seen, then waiting becomes less frightening. The absence of visible movement no longer means the absence of progress. It simply means the work has moved beneath the surface. There is something remarkable about seeds buried in the ground. They spend their earliest days surrounded by darkness, completely hidden from the world above. If they could judge their circumstances only by what they experienced, they might believe they had been abandoned. Yet the darkness is not their prison. It is the very environment where new life begins. Without that hidden season, no growth would ever reach the light. People often experience similar moments. Circumstances may feel uncertain, lonely, or confusing. Plans seem delayed, answers remain distant. But what appears to be an ending may actually be the beginning of unseen preparation. Character is being strengthened. Perspective is being reshaped. Patience is quietly becoming part of who you are. One of the greatest mistakes is believing that every worthwhile achievement should happen quickly. The strongest bridges are not built overnight. The tallest trees require years before they provide shelter. Lasting wisdom cannot be rushed because it grows through experience, reflection, and endurance. Anything that carries lasting value usually requires time hidden from public attention. If your life feels unusually quiet right now, resist the urge to assume that nothing is happening. Silence is not always empty. Sometimes it is the sound of preparation taking place beyond your ability to measure. The opportunities you hope for may already be moving toward you, even if you cannot yet recognize them. The lessons you are given us learning today may become the very foundation that allows you to handle tomorrow's responsibilities with grace and wisdom. One day, you may look back on this quiet season with gratitude instead of frustration. You may realize that what felt like delay was actually protection. What seemed like stillness was careful preparation, and what appeared to be silence was the gentle unfolding of a purpose too important to be hurried. In that moment, you will understand that silence was never proof that nothing was happening. It was simply the place where the deepest transformation began. It is easy to believe that extraordinary breakthroughs are reserved for extraordinary people. We often imagine that life changes because of remarkable talent, perfect timing, or fortunate circumstances. Yet if we look closely, many of the greatest transformations begin with something much simpler. They begin with faithful choices made long before any reward appears. The moments that eventually changed everything are usually built upon countless quiet decisions that no one else ever noticed. Faithfulness is rarely dramatic. It does not demand attention or seek applause. Instead, it reveals itself in ordinary moments when a person chooses to do what is right, even when no immediate benefit can be seen. It is choosing honesty when dishonesty would be easier. It is showing kindness when resentment feels justified. It is continuing to work diligently when recognition seems distant. These choices may appear insignificant on their own, but together they shape a life capable of receiving opportunities that could never be trusted to an unprepared heart. Many people focus only on the breakthrough itself. They admire the visible success while overlooking the hidden journey that made it possible. They see the harvest but forget the seasons of planting, watering, and waiting. They celebrate the victory without considering the countless mornings when perseverance was the only visible progress. Yet every lasting achievement has a history that began long before anyone recognized its value. Imagine a lighthouse standing on a rugged shoreline. Night after night, its light continues to shine across the water whether ships appear or not. It does not become brighter because someone is watching, nor does it grow dim because the sea seems empty. Its purpose remains the same regardless of immediate results. In much the same way, faithfulness means remaining true to what is right without allowing changing circumstances to determine your character. There will be days when doing the right thing feels unnoticed. You may wonder whether your efforts matter when no one expresses gratitude and no visible reward follows. In those moments, it is tempting to believe that compromise would be easier. But every faithful decision strengthens something far more valuable than temporary success. It strengthens your character. Character becomes the quiet foundation upon which every future opportunity rests. Breakthroughs often arrive at unexpected times because they are connected not only to external circumstances, but also to internal readiness. A person may desire greater responsibility, greater influence, or greater opportunity, but without the wisdom developed through faithful living, those blessings can quickly become burdens. Preparation is not punishment, it is protection. It allows growth to take place before greater responsibilities are placed into our hands. Think of a musician preparing for an important performance. The audience applauds the concert, but they rarely witness the years of disciplined practice that made that moment possible. Every hour spent refining a skill seemed ordinary while it was happening, yet when the opportunity finally arrived, those quiet hours revealed their true value. Success did not begin on the stage. It began in private moments of consistent effort. Life often follows the same pattern. The conversations you have today, the habits you build, the promises you keep, and the compassion you extend all become part of your preparation. Every faithful choice adds another stone to the foundation of your future. At the time, each decision may appear too small to matter, but over months and years, those choices become the reason you are ready when unexpected opportunities appear. There is also a remarkable truth about kindness and integrity. Their influence extends far beyond what we can measure. A single encouraging word may remain in someone's memory for years. One act of generosity may restore another person's hope during a season of despair. A decision to forgive instead of seeking revenge can break a cycle of bitterness that might otherwise continue for generations. Faithful choices create ripples that often reach places we will never personally witness. Patience is an essential companion to faithfulness because meaningful breakthroughs rarely arrive according to our preferred schedule. We naturally desire immediate results, yet life often moves with a slower wisdom. Trees do not rush their growth. Rivers do not hurry toward the sea. Dawn arrives at its appointed time regardless of how eagerly we wait for the first light. There is wisdom in recognizing that lasting things develop gradually. When the breakthrough finally comes, it may seem sudden to everyone else. Friends may describe it as good fortune or perfect timing. They will notice the open door but remain unaware of the years spent preparing to walk through it. They will see the visible reward without seeing the invisible discipline that made it possible. Yet you will understand that the breakthrough did not truly begin on the day the opportunity appeared. It began with the quiet decision to remain faithful when giving up seemed easier. If you find yourself in a season where progress feels slow, remember that faithfulness is never wasted. Every choice rooted in truth, patience, compassion, and integrity is shaping the person you are becoming. Even when the results remain hidden, your character is growing stronger. And when the moment finally arrives for your next great opportunity, you will discover that it was not luck that brought you there. It was the steady accumulation of faithful choices that quietly prepared you for an unexpected breakthrough, proving that the smallest acts of consistency often become the doorway to life's greatest blessings.